In this interesting study by Tannenbaum and colleagues, participants are told you're on a hiring committee for corporate executives. And they learn about the different candidates and the requests of two great candidates who fit the requirements. One candidate has requested an extremely high salary of $1 million a year. The other candidate, they made a request about salary that was nowhere close to that 1 million, but they did include another thing, a $40,000 marble table. Perhaps you're thinking, well, that's unusual, but what does it really matter? The study revealed something surprising. Even though the company could save a lot of money by hiring the qualified candidate who just wanted this $40,000 marble table, not $1 million salary, they preferred to hire the candidate who requested the enormous $1 million salary. The results showed that participants extrapolated from that anomalous request for this table that the candidate was not interested in group norms or being a team player. And this likely contributed to their ratings that the table requester was, quote, more likely to act on his own selfish interests than the good of the company. So here we have a statistically rare behavior asking for an extremely expensive piece of furniture rather than a high salary that might say something about a person's character and their interest in conforming to the group. One might think preferring the $1 million salary requester is a reasonable decision based on inferences about this odd table request. But based on the numbers, it's costlier to prefer this $1 million salary requester. So this is another example of how psychological mechanisms of moral cognition can override straightforward quantitative evaluations. Another example of behaviors that are highly informative of underlying moral traits are those that indicate what a person finds pleasurable, hedonic markers. In a pretty visceral study performed about hedonic markers, participants were told about hedonic markers that indicated that perpetrators of violent crimes took pleasure in killing. For example, cutting up a body in a specific way. The researchers found that after adding in this hedonic information, people did not think the crime was more wrong. Hedonic information did not affect judgments of the act itself. Instead, it caused judgments of the perpetrator to become more negative, and it caused people to increase recommendations of the death penalty as a punishment. So information that cues people in to what someone finds worth pursuing or avoiding is perceived to represent the person's deeper character, their moral traits. Knowing what a person is driven toward and whether it conforms or not with social moral norms is important to people's judgments of other people and even their judgments about their right to live. Next, a huge question related to these person-based models is, do moral character judgments themselves really usefully predict human behavior? Are these character judgments a heuristic that helps us avoid danger, or are they representative of our stereotypes and preconceptions based on our own limited experiences more than anything? And this is, of course, incredibly difficult to measure, as you can imagine, and a really fraught area in psychology and philosophy. Some recent work came out suggesting that character judgments don't actually work like we supposed they did. So this work looks at beliefs about bad people and whether they are kind of sticky, like a stain, or more volatile, more changeable. And as you'll see, their data suggest that people's beliefs about bad people are volatile, more uncertain, and frequently updated than beliefs about good people. This potentially allows for some more flexible evaluation and forgiveness. So let's see how they did this. In this study, participants, there were 39 of them, repeatedly predicted the choices of two agents presented to them in a game. And these agents could pick between more or less immoral actions. And the participants predicted the actions of these agents, who could be nice or who could be jerks, based on their prior behavior in the game. So they're consistently, repeatedly judging these two agents. In this game, agents are nice by earning less money to prevent people from getting shocked. And agents are jerks by taking more money, which results in more people getting shocked. So as these agents make their choices in the game, participants continuously provide impressions of the agents, judgments of them as nasty or nice. And impressions formed of the agents over trials, some seeming nasty, others nice. And they found that the nasty, bad agents were subject to faster and more updating about whether they were nasty or nice, so more volatile evaluations compared to the nice agents. People were more interested in the jerks rather than monitoring the agent prone to niceness. In other words, people were quicker to change their assessments of the bad agents from nasty to nice and nice to nasty, and change them more often, compared to their assessments of the nice agents, where impressions were slower to be updated from nice to nasty. Why would people do that? Negative character judgments are considered adaptively persistent to protect people from endangering themselves. Todorov comments on this paper and summarizes that position here. We rapidly make inferences about the moral character of others. Observing a single immoral behavior is often sufficient to make us think of them as morally unworthy. But this study is showing something new. Our beliefs about others' badness, as opposed to their goodness, are more uncertain. That is, we allow ourselves more space to reassess and, if needed, rectify these beliefs. Moral judgment focuses on the person as the unit of analysis. It doesn't have to be inflexible character judgments. It may entail a constantly updated inference. The work in moral psychology from this person-based perspective on moral judgment suggests that the psychology that we have in place to predict action in general is also put to use to predict morally relevant events and to morally evaluate good and evil and right and wrong. It's there to assess the qualities that make us human and that are important for human behavior.